Hello everybody, welcome back to Theron 2. Today is the second part of Disney X. Or Disney Times, or whatever you want to call it. Today, discussing Disney X Hasbro, as the title and thumbnail suggests. Now the main question of this is, why would or why should Disney buy Hasbro? The underlying question that you have is how could. So let me answer that quickly. Hasbro earns approximately $4 billion of operating income. Yeah, I know. But their assets are only $4.4 billion, whereas the Disney company has assets in excess of this year $100 billion and has an operating income of this year approximately between $15 and $20 billion, depending on how well Star Wars and Marvel do this year. But probably closer to $16-17 billion. Last year, it was $16 billion. $16 billion is enough to purchase Hasbro's entire revenue for 4 full years. Why is this important? It basically means you value Hasbro at a certain price, and over the next 4 years they're going to make this much. Lucasfilm films have already grossed, with merchandise and all that shit, $15 billion for Disney across the last 3 years since they've bought it, and they bought that for $4 billion. Very good deal. Now, why am I bringing this up is even more important. Hasbro's main line of toys that's actually giving them a revenue boost isn't My Little Pony, it's not Transformers, it's Star Wars. Hasbro actually makes most Star Wars toys, which in turn means they pay Disney to license Star Wars. They then pay Disney some profit from that. So if they make $100 on a toy, they have to pay Disney a $10 licensing fee and give them probably 15% is what Disney says, which is $15. They lose $25 of that 100. Now, if Hasbro were to sell to Disney in an amicable agreement that they both agreed on, for stock and shares and money, cash, what would change? Why would they do that? Because they would stop losing money paying Disney a licensing fee. Disney doesn't pay themselves a licensing fee. They just make their toys, like the Frozen toys, which are bad example. That's also done by Hasbro to my knowledge. But like the Disney Princess line is a lot cheaper than a lot of other lines because they make it themselves. You can't get Disney princesses from Hasbro because they're like $20 more expensive. They would be $20 more expensive. So Hasbro would be able to drop the price of Star Wars toys. We would stop seeing Star Wars masks selling for $90. We'd take off the licensing fee and the payment to Disney, because here's the deal. Disney charges $10 for licensing and they want some of that profit back. So Hasbro has to charge it up so that Hasbro makes 10% profit, Disney makes 15% profit, and they pay Disney 10% licensing fee. That's a lot of percentages that when it comes down to it, if Hasbro is bought by Disney, they only need to make Hasbro and Disney together a 10% profit. So you could decrease the price of every Star Wars product by Hasbro by like $10 to $15 pretty easily, which would mean more sales, which would mean more money. In fact, they could, if they decreased it by just $10, they'd still actually be making $10 more profit because they're not paying Disney that licensing fee. And that's what Disney would love, probably, and Hasbro. Drop the price of Star Wars toys by $10, but you're actually making $10 more. Now, another main thing that would change, and I've got the list over here, is films. This would be a great buy for Disney because they would start making money from specific films like Ouija, Transformers, My Little Pony, the Bumblebee movie, G.I. Joe, and in the future, Hungry Hungry Hippos, Tonka, Play-Doh, Beyblade, Monopoly, Dungeons and Dragons, Action Man, Clue, Furby. They're making an Action Man movie. Man, that shit was my childhood. And obviously a lot of those scripts Disney would buy back and they would probably produce themselves. For example, Disney would not want a Monopoly movie made by Lionsgate. They would want to make that themselves. Candyland, Clue, Furby, Action Man, Dungeons and Dragons. But the more recent films like G.I. Joe 3, Transformers 6, obviously Disney has to let those films go for a while. There's no way Paramount sold Marvel, which was a stupid idea. There's no way they're going to sell Transformers. But I think if Disney started a Hasbro universe with like Monopoly, Candyland, Action Man, My Little Pony, Beyblade, Play-Doh, Dungeons and Dragons, Furby, this like kids animated universe, which would be pretty cool. Furby, My Little Pony, Monopoly, Candyland, Action Man, all in a shared universe. That'd be pretty cool. The Transformers films would kind of get stale, you would hope. I mean, Disney would be able to make Transformers TV shows on Disney XD and Transformers comics and kind of... I don't know, they'd probably keep making Transformers films. But maybe at some point, 2020, Disney could buy out Transformers, start making their own Transformers films. Although they are making Transformers an annual series, so I don't know. G.I. Joe they could probably almost definitely buy because those films have just flunked. But it would get Disney into this area where they would be making money off the Transformers merchandise and stuff. So it would seem like a bad idea for Paramount to make a $1 billion Transformers film that Disney makes $500 million off of the toys alone. They don't want to fund their competition. So that might actually be a reason that they stop, especially if Disney starts doing TV shows and other things like comic books, board games. They can do all of that shit other than the movies, and it might discourage Paramount from making the movies. Now, this would be the main demographic that Disney would want, because they've got young kids with Barbie. They would have young kids with Barbie. Barbie's not Hasbro, is it? No. They would have young kids with their Disney Princess line and Pixar, and they have young kids, and Disney itself has a very strong hold from kids all the way through to young adults, female. And this Star Wars acquisition and Marvel acquisition has given them the strongest hold on young males all the way through to young adult males. That's the reason they bought Marvel. That's the reason they bought Star Wars. Disney wasn't really selling to young males a lot because they have Disney princesses and they have Pixar and all this female stuff. So they got that. Transformers is really an older thing, older than Star Wars, I would say, age range. I'd say it's like 16 to 24 would be its main age range, and it goes further up to like 50 because it's an action film. Same with G.I. Joe, and a lot of Hasbro toys are like that. It would give Disney a stronger hold, especially with like Oasia. That's a horror film. That would give Disney a much stronger hold on this older age range. So the Disney Hasbro acquisition would be the most profitable large acquisition that they could make, similar to Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars, which we will talk about in the future. Hasbro could be the fourth big acquisition they make. And personally, I hope it happens. I would love to see Disney making the Transformers and G.I. Joe films in a shared universe, and all of the Monopoly and all that bogus. A Hasbro shared universe by Disney would be fantastic. A Transformers G.I. Joe shared universe by Disney would be fantastic. No one can deny that. And they would make a lot more money from toys and board games and stuff like that. Instead of licensing Disney, they're making themselves. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, click over here to subscribe. Click over here to watch a previous video. And make sure to leave a like below. Subscribe. I don't know. Outro. Subscribe.